At a glance, Fire Emblem 8's cast is pretty generic. If you've already played the prior games, a lot of the characters can feel very been there, done that. I think that's a shame. It results in a lot of genuinely good characters being written off as bland. One such case is Syrene. Green hair, Pegasus Knight, older sister, not exactly gonna stick in a player's mind. I wouldn't blame you for writing her off as a polyclone. However, in reading her supports, you'll find that she's actually a multi-dimensional character with an interesting connection to the game's themes. We meet Syrene as she's defending a group of villagers from Grotto's forces. Her refusal to abandon the people solidifies her integrity as a knight, while her dialogue characterizes her as level-headed and confident. Unfortunately, her various recruitment dialogues do a poor job of hooking the player. There are three characters who can recruit her: Tana, Inez, and Vanessa. Tana's has the least going on. Syrene quickly just falls under her command because Tana's her liege. No hint at a backstory or interesting dynamic to pique the player's interest, just typical knight stuff. With Inez, Syrene is implied to have romantic feelings for him for some reason. A Pegasus Knight with unrequited love for a lord has been done before. All this serves to do is validate players who initially wrote her off as uninspired. We also learn that she is the only survivor of her platoon. Again, this has been done before. Neither of these aspects of her character are explored further, so why are they here? I do like her dialogue with Vanessa though. Yeah, Pegasus Sisters has been done before, but I think the way they speak to each other creates intrigue. Vanessa only acknowledges Syrene's family very briefly, which may lead players to become curious as to what their dynamic is like. Her role in gameplay doesn't help her stand out either. Mediocre base stats, low growth, and no standout niche other than cracking some eggs makes her very, very easy to overlook. This sucks because she actually has some really well written supports. I'll start by looking at her conversations with Vanessa. Their C support follows up on their recruitment dialogue, with Vanessa strictly using formalities when speaking with Syrene. Syrene tells her to just talk like they're at home, which shows she's not as high-strung as some of the other knightly characters. There's also this bit where Syrene gives her an amulet said to have belonged to the war god Fail. FE8 does this occasionally, dropping completely random pieces of world building out of nowhere. Who's Fail? This is the only mention of him. Maybe he's like Natakuya? I don't know. Stuff like this makes FE8 come across as undercooked. They probably wanted to expand on who this guy is, but couldn't. I swear, I'm not trying to dog on FE8 too much. If modern Fire Emblem were more consistently at this level of quality, then I could probably lay off the Trazodone, but it's frustrating to see missed world-building opportunities in a game whose world is already pretty dull. Their B support shows Syrene teasing Vanessa over the possibility that she likes a guy. Here, we see a more playful side to her personality. She also takes on the role of a caregiver, with her worrying if Vanessa's been getting enough rest. This, along with Vanessa telling Syrene how much she looks up to her, is the first instance we've seen of Syrene being a role model for others. Her being a pillar to lean on is really important for some of her other supports, so it's cool to see them connect like this. In their A support, Syrene recounts an event where their father had collapsed and Vanessa ended up being the one to help him. Being inspired by Vanessa, Syrene wanted to help their family too, and so joined the Knights at a young age. We also see a more sincere side to her, with her being happy that Vanessa's found love. In regards to her and Vanessa's backstory, I think there's a connection to be made between how this event influences how she behaves today. Maybe she wants others to be able to rely on her the same way she had relied on Vanessa. Overall, this support does a good job of fleshing out Syrene's backstory while showing us more sides to her personality. It's shown that when talking with someone she's close to, she's able to relax a bit and be more playful than we otherwise see. Syrene's support chain with Tana is fairly one note. The main purpose of the support is to show that younger knights view Syrene as a role model. While this topic was covered in the Vanessa support, I think there's still value in going over it here. Firstly, it shows that people without such a personal connection still look up to her. It also reinforces the idea that she's a role model by having multiple examples. This part in their A support stuck out to me. Syrene says she's willing to die to protect Tana. I like the idea of her having self-worth issues, but this is unfortunately not explored further. You could connect it with the fact that so many of her comrades have died, but that connection feels tenuous. This support chain mostly just reinforces things we already learned in her Vanessa support, hence why I cover them subsequently. Syrene takes her job seriously but is still willing to let her guard down around people she trusts. Despite being relatively young, her experience and expertise makes her a rock that many members of the cast rely on. I like her support with Gilliam a lot. In their C support, we learn that they went on a mission together when they were still new to knighthood. One of my favorite things about this support system is its ability to show that characters who previously seemed unrelated actually have a history together. I think it makes the world feel more alive. There's a history here that you're not entirely privy to because the world doesn't exist for you. Her teasing of Gilliam shows that she's generally a lighthearted person. We saw her tease Vanessa as well, but through this we learn that it's just kind of something she does rather than limited to her little sister. A lot of other knights both in this game and in the series can be really self-serious, so it's a nice way to set her apart. In their B support, Gilliam feigns a need for advice in an attempt to get Syrene to open up. Gilliam taking notice of others' reliance on Syrene shows how common it must be. We also see that Syrene is remarkably mature, with her offering up front to go to him if she has any problems. In most other supports, a character would have gone through an arc about learning to open up, but Syrene seems to have already gone through that. Their A support and paired ending has them get married. It's nice to see her not be a rock for someone else and just be happy. A big part of what I like about this support is that she's talking to someone who's her equal. Gilliam seems to be roughly the same age as Syrene while being a knight for the same amount of time, while the last two supports we covered had her talking to knights who were significantly younger than her. By diversifying the types of people Syrene interacts with, we get a better idea for the type of person she is. Her support with Kyle is pretty similar to hers with Gilliam. Kyle and Syrene had a run-in when they were younger, and there was also an instance where she helped Kyle fight off bandits. I do really like this part where Syrene tells Kyle not to be a hero. This is something that Gilliam had told her, so having it repeated here shows that it affected her. I think connections like this help make her supports feel interconnected and prevents any of them from feeling completely superfluous. Unfortunately, I don't have much more positive to say about this one. Overall, this is my least favorite of her supports. I like that she's talking with someone outside of Frelia, but it feels like it retreads a lot of ground from the Gilliam support, which I think is a missed opportunity. Her one support with a non-Freilian could have been used to convey more compelling world building than the country next to the sea has seafood. Her support with Moulder further fleshes out Syrene's dynamic in the army while also getting to see a more vulnerable side to her. Syrene tells Moulder that she's not comfortable with being a mother figure to the army in the way Moulder is a father to them, but she's fine taking on a more sisterly role. This kinda connects to what I was saying about Syrene having already gone through arcs that other characters still need to. She's already comfortable with her position in the army and how others view her. Having a character in the cast already be fully developed can make them an interesting soundboard or foil for other characters. You can read a bit of doubt in her dialogue. Even if she's not directly asking for guidance, I think the way she speaks to him comes off as wanting validation. This shows that she's not quite as self-assured as her prior supports may lead you to believe, which adds a layer to her character. In their A support, Syrene does the best she can to celebrate Moulder's birthday. It's endearing to see her try and do something nice for someone. It also shows that she's willing to be a sister to everyone, even the more geriatric members of the army. This support chain sets itself apart by being the only one where Syrene is interacting with someone significantly more experienced than she is. We see how this changes her demeanor, with her more willing to show vulnerability and ask for help. It adds depth to her character, and Syrene would be a less interesting character were it not in the game. I think Syrene can be read as someone who lost their innocence at a young age. She joined the Knights as a kid, and despite not actually being that old, is seen as substantially more mature than the others and as a pillar to lean on. However, Syrene seems to have accepted this loss of innocence, and as a result has been able to move on and become a stronger person. So she was able to grow as a person because she was able to move on from loss. Hey, that's the game's theme! The main theme of Sacred Stones is moving on from loss. This is seen most plainly in the fact that any given character with a speaking role probably has at least one dead parent, but also with Erica and Lion. Erica has to accept that Lion's already dead, and she's punished in the moments where she refuses to, while rewarded when she eventually does. This is reinforced with some of the villains. Orson refuses to move on from his late wife, Selena refuses to accept that Vigard was no longer who he once was, and Lion couldn't accept his father's death. All three of these characters die, while Erica, the only one who could accept her loss, lives. Ephraim does kind of introduce a wrinkle to this, but this isn't a review of Sacred Stones, we're just gonna ignore that. This is what I meant when I said Syrene has a connection to the game's themes. She's already gone through the emotional arc that Erica is going through right now. She's accepted what's happened in her life, the good and the bad, and has become a better person for it. By having Syrene interact with a wide variety of different people, Sacred Stones is able to build a layered and multifaceted character. We get to see many sides of her personality through her interactions with a group of characters who all have unique dynamics with her. Furthermore, her personal story exemplifies the merits of Sacred Stone's primary themes in a unique way. Even if few people give her the time of day, I believe Sacred Stones is better thanks to her inclusion. If you made it this far into the video, thanks. Since making my last video, I actually have subscribers now, which feels pretty surreal. I've spent about 4 hours a day every day for the last 10 or so years just thinking about this series, so I'm happy that there seem to be people interested in what I have to say. So thanks to anyone who liked or commented on my last videos or subscribed to this channel, I appreciate it.